biggest thing with the shiplap is making sure that our Z metal is right. Okay, so if this is wrong, the rest of the entire wall will be off. We have to make sure that we're level here all the way around, and then the first piece will be level, and then once we put this second piece on, that these pieces are not off even 1/8 of an inch, because if you do 1/8 of an inch at the bottom, all that does is just accelerate all the way to the top, and then your whole wall looks crooked. So I would say that the biggest thing to remember when you're doing this shiplap is to take your time, make your cuts to where you're 1/8 of an inch short on either side. From the brick mold to that one over there, 1/8 of an inch will give us a 1/16 on either side. We know that wood expands and contracts with the weather, so we don't want this to bow and to come off. So we want a little bit of spacing there at the end, and then we want to make sure that these are absolutely level, especially at the bottom, so that we can be perfect all the way to the top, and it really makes a nice, smooth finish. The shiplap is a big deal. It takes a little bit of time, and it's something that you're not going to be good at real quick. You gotta do it a few times, and there's a few tricks to it. But yeah, it's going up. We're trying to get the exteriors done, and then we're going to move back to the inside and do some finishing up there. And then these guys are really close to being done with the whole project. You got to be good with your saw. That takes time. It takes a number of cuts. You can only teach so much, but then they have to get that muscle memory. They have to try it out. They have to make those mistakes, and then and get better at it. So with the shiplap, making sure that it stays level all the way up is a big deal. A lot of times if you get it too tight between the brick mold there, that it'll stick up on one side and you don't notice until you get 3 or 4 rungs up. So you gotta make sure that each one that you put in there is nice and level, that it's 6 3/4 in between the top and the bottom, and that's something that they learn and they get better at, and it just takes experience to do. You know, they fly through usually by the 3rd build. The 2nd build, they're much better at it, and then the 3rd build, it's a lot of muscle memory. So that muscle memory shines through. They understand what they're doing. They have a process. They have something to draw from before, and it just flies by on that 3rd build especially. So with a project this big, the struggle has been is making sure that everybody uses the leftover pieces first and doesn't go to another big, large piece. And this is on any construction site. You want to make sure that you use all material available. That cuts into any profits, the red and the black of the whole construction site. So you just got to make sure that when there's a leftover piece, we go through the leftover pieces first, and before we go to a brand new piece. And getting that word out and getting everybody on the same page, you know, is really important. Communication is key to our success here. So we've gotten a lot better at that recently. When we first started, it was a little bit of a struggle, but we're ironing out all those wrinkles now. That's very important. They got to talk. They got to, and that's something that isn't common knowledge to everybody. Maybe that's not something that they're used to, but they have to work together. They have to talk to one another. They have to let each other know that it's right and that they're good and that the spacing is correct before they put that brad nail in, so that they're not tearing it off and wasting time and inevitably wasting material as well when you have to pull that off. So yeah, it's very important, the communication part of it. anywhere where the water is able to penetrate, we want to make sure that we put a nice bead of caulking in there. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow for everything to run off. This has a 1-inch overlap on the shiplap, so this water should run down and come off of the Z metal and come over the corrugated tin. We do have Tyvek underneath both of these things, but on the underside of this brick mold, if that's not finished, it can rot here and it can deteriorate the brick mold on the inside. Also, if there's any holes in the Tyvek, the water can get in behind there and ruin all the sheeting on the inside. So we really got to make sure that we make this really weatherproof on the sides, and make sure that around our windows and our doors and the sides where the brick mold and the shiplap come together, all of that has a really good bead of caulk on there.